The bail hearing for a police sergeant charged in connection with the kidnapping of Kamogelo Baukudi continues in the Bloemfontein Magistrate Court today. The investigating officer is expected to take to the stand. Nzima Adoons, who is attached to the anti-gang unit, is adamant that he has no connection to the crime or the Baukudi family, but the state argues that the car he was driving was spotted near the scene. Let's now get more details on this from our reporter, Scara Mafokoane. Scara, very good morning to you. Tell us about what we can expect today, considering that you have the investigator who will now also take the stand.
Good morning, Aldrin, and to our viewers. It's going to be a very, very important day in court today. The investigating officer in this matter taking to the stand. You'll recall, Aldrin, that on Monday, the remaining suspect, the 42-year-old Sergeant Nzima Adoons, took to the stand. And it's very, very critical, or rather it was very critical for him to take to the stand, because remember that the burden of proof rests upon him on why he should be released on bail. But the case taking a twist, Aldrin, on Monday, where 5 suspects who were arrested on last week Friday were released without appearing in bail due to insufficient evidence, we're told, by the NPA. But let me bring in somebody who understands the law better than I do to talk to us about some of these issues. Ines Bezerenhout, she's a legal expert here in Bloemfontein. Ines, the case took a bit of a twist on Friday. We were expecting the 5 suspects who were arrested on last week Friday to appear. They were released. They were wrongfully arrested, let me put it that way. Does or will that have any bearing on this bail application or this matter should it go to trial?
Morning, Scara. So at this stage, we must remember it's only the investigation initial stages of the process. So in other words, the bearing on the state, the evidence that one can expect from the bail applicant will not necessarily relate at all to the merits of the matter in this instant. So, in other words, what I'm trying to say is that the witnesses, the state can call witnesses to prove their case later in the trial, but at this stage we're only dealing with the bail application.
Now, the burden of proof rests on Nzima Adoons as to why he should be released. He testified on Monday. He denied the charges. Yes, he admits that he was in the vicinity of the crime. How much of a bearing does his testimony have on his own bail application on why he should be released?
In a bail application, there's no reason why an applicant need to go into the merits of the case. The court will also warn the applicant that should he or she wish to go into the merits of the case, that evidence can later be used in the trial against the accused if he or she contradicts his evidence given in the bail application. That can be a previous inconsistent statement. So the applicant are usually very well informed that evidence on the merit should rather be kept for the trial itself.
And lastly, the investigating officer takes to the stand this morning. We expect at least a little bit of fireworks. He's the man who has investigated this matter since it was brought to the fore. How critical is his testimony in beefing up the state's argument that this police sergeant was involved in the crime that he's alleged to have committed?
The investigating officer is the main witness for the state at this stage. And we must remember that he testifies not only regarding the merits, but also on aspects relating to how far is the investigation. Is there a probability that the applicant, if released on bail, would intimidate witnesses or interfere with the state's case? So the investigating officer's evidence is not just bearing on the merits of the matter. It's really there to help the court to come to a conclusion whether it will be in the interest of justice to release the applicant on bail.
Ines Bezerenhout, thank you so much for your time and breaking down some of that information for us. As you heard, Aldrin, it's going to be a very interesting morning and day in court today. The investigating officer is a critical component to this case, and we expect when court starts at 9:30 to hear how far the investigation is and what's going to come out from what he says. Interestingly, again, we might even hear why those 5 suspects, wrongfully arrested individuals, were arrested and later released. Aldrin.